Surrender is a spiritual principle found in many traditions. Teachers of meditation often speak about the surrender of effort, goals, desires, as both means to and ends of the deepest meditative states. Mystics speak of surrender as a central requirement of awakening, and enlightenment is often described as what occurs when we fully surrender the sense of the separate self. Yet this word can be somewhat vague, and if we think about its normal usage and associations, we might even conclude that it's not particularly helpful. Surrender is typically used to indicate the explicit acknowledgement of defeat by the losing side of a conflict. While it might be accurate to see spiritual surrender as a resolution of conflict, it is certainly not a defeat. Another important distinction is that in the aftermath of political, military, or interpersonal surrender, the victor establishes a new order, defines the new reality. But surrender on the inner path leads to a dissolution of any confined reality. Instead of thinking in terms of giving in, what if we frame this as becoming part of a greater existence? An expansive melding which makes the dutiful subjugation of self a moot point. A metaphor might be useful here. Let's say that my meditation practice, studies of esoterica, and meetings with remarkable men and women have led me to the river. As I stand on the bank, looking out across the water, I see a vast, continually moving flow of being, although its source and destination are beyond my view. It is luminescent, indescribably beautiful, and utterly indifferent. In contrast to the birth, life, death cycles in which the creatures behind me are caught, the river before me seems timeless, even eternal. Although it does not notice me and certainly does not need me, the invitation is implicit. Come in, join me. If I think of accepting this invitation as surrender, I might believe that drowning in this vastness would be a viable option, that the extinguishing of self is what this invitation implies. But if I think of it as joining, as integrating with the river, I realize that I should learn to swim, or put another way, learn how to navigate the currents of the river so that I am partnered with, not subsumed by it. Of course, there is a significant proviso to be considered here, however. Knowing how readily my ego co-opts just about anything for its own survival and aggrandizement, to think that I can somehow manage my entry into the river sounds like a recipe for, if not disaster, certainly delusion. The survival of a me who will have a destination towards which to navigate is clearly not what the mystics have in mind when they invite us to surrender. But rather than concluding that this center point of identified awareness, therefore, must be annihilated, we might consider the idea of transformation. Since this term can be even more vague than surrender, we should be clear that we have a particular transformation in mind here. To state it simply, joining into the river requires that ego evolve from a focal point of acquisitiveness and avoidance to a nexus of loving awareness. For this to make useful sense, each of us might carefully examine this phrase, nexus of loving awareness. Nexus, a point, remembering that points are abstract infinitudes lit up in real time by the intersection of energies at play in the moment. We could say that nexus is the dynamic field in which reality breathes in and out of existence. You do not make it, You cannot possess it. You cannot control it. Yet there is no other observer-actor than you present. Loving. As Ibn Arabi states, the movement which is the existence of the universe is the movement of love. But love is not only the cosmic dance that keeps day, night, rain, wind, stars, and rivers in motion. It is the most natural of all human inclinations. Loving is being open, affectionate, responsive, alive with kindness and steeped in compassion. It is the habit of self-forgetfulness. Awareness. The conundrum is that only awareness knows what awareness is. Any attempt to describe it is futile because awareness does not lie within the bounds of descriptive knowing. We can, of course, try. Awareness is the cognizance of some object or situation, but that is awareness of, which maintains the separation of awarer and awaree. In the spiritual sense, what comes into awareness becomes awareness. Whatever terminology we settle on, whichever metaphor might work for us, the heart of the issue is how fully and freely can we join an expansive consciousness where the distinction between small self and greater self is moot. Whether we think of this as surrender or integration, it is living as a nexus of loving awareness, I believe, to which the sages have been inviting us, standing there with us at the river's edge.